Every student knows it's wrong to blatantly steal someone else's work. However, accidental plagiarism occurs far more often than some students realize. Maintaining academic integrity and avoiding plagiarism are very important parts of research and writing. However, committing plagiarism constitutes a serious infraction of Regent University's honor code and must be avoided at all costs. Therefore, this presentation will examine plagiarism in its various forms and provide several ways to help students avoid it so that they can be successful in their academic endeavors. Regent recognizes that there are philosophical implications of academic dishonesty, and so your sense of expediency must always follow from that which is right, not from that which is convenient. Maintaining academic honesty requires diligence to work hard, plan ahead, and keep oneself from falling into a compromising situation. Also, as Christians, God calls His people to live according to a higher standard, with integrity and honesty and respect for others, and avoiding plagiarism falls directly into this calling. When we talk about academic dishonesty, Regent recognizes that as anything that has to do with lying, cheating, defrauding, or deceiving. And examples of that include copying someone else's exam, allowing one's exam to be copied, obtaining an unapproved copy of an exam, using unauthorized aids during a quiz or exam, resubmitting the same assignment without a professor's permission, or turning in someone else's paper for credit, including any papers purchased from the internet. Another form of academic dishonesty is plagiarism, and plagiarism is defined as using the intellectual property of others without proper citation, thereby giving the impression that it is the student's own work. So notice here that plagiarism extends to more than stealing word-for-word quotations. So rather than just copying and pasting something without quotation marks, sometimes borrowing from someone else's ideas without a proper citation constitutes theft as well. If your paper includes ideas that are not your own, you must cite them. Regent defines plagiarism in two levels. The first is minor plagiarism, and that means doing any of the following in 249 words or less. The first is what is called the copy-paste method, so using substantial verbatim content from a source without quotation marks or citation. The other is revising substantial portions of the paper, so by copying and pasting something and just changing a few words here or there. Regent calls that an improper paraphrase, and that is still considered plagiarism. Another example is paraphrasing or summarizing substantial portions of work without proper attribution. So even if you are putting another source's ideas in your own words, if you aren't including a citation, that's considered plagiarism, or repeatedly committing minor plagiarism. Now, major plagiarism is doing any of the above in 250 words or more, or repeatedly committing minor plagiarism in one or more papers. Students can face serious academic consequences for plagiarism. At the professor's discretion, students can receive a verbal warning, a grade penalty on the assignment, such as a deduction of points or a 0, a grade penalty for the entire course, required completion of the academic integrity workshop, suspension, or expulsion. Now be very careful, because Regent does not distinguish between intentional or unintentional plagiarism, which is why we're going to spend the rest of our time together going over ways that you can avoid accidentally plagiarizing. Easiest way to avoid plagiarism is to cite your sources. Citations not only give credit to authors, but also support the legitimacy of your work. So it's not just about avoiding disciplinary action, it's also helping to connect research. The theory is that readers should be able to read the same sources you did and come to the same conclusion. Therefore, citation should point back to specific places and sources so that your readers can find the same information. It's important to note that citations only count for the sentence they're a part of, regardless of what formatting style you're using. So you can't just use one citation at the end of a paragraph and assume that it will cover the rest of the paraphrased or quoted sentences you had. You must include one citation for every paraphrased sentence, and you must put both quotation marks around verbatim keywords, phrases, or passages, in addition to including an appropriate citation. So let's go over an example. Let's say this is our original source. Everyone uses the word language, and everybody these days talks about culture. Languaculture is a reminder, I hope, of the necessary connection between its two parts. This is from Agar in the book Language Shock. Here's an example of a student trying to paraphrase that information. At the intersection of language and culture lies a concept that we might call languaculture. Unfortunately, this is a plagiarized sentence. So here, the writer has used a keyword from the source without a citation. Just the presence of the quotation marks are not enough to be considered proper attribution. So here's an example using APA formatting. At the intersection of language and culture lies a concept at Agar called languaculture. Page 60. So here, there's a reference to the author, so there's a signal phrase. The quotation marks are around the key term that was coined by the source, and there's a page number. And so in APA, the page number is required for direct quotes. So this not only follows the formatting style, but it points back to a specific place in the source for the readers to find more information about languaculture. Other ways to avoid plagiarism are to work ahead. The less time you have to write your paper, the more susceptible you are to improper citations. As you research, keep a list of sources that influence your perception of a topic. Don't just save the works cited, reference, or bibliography page for last. Filling it out as you go will ensure that you don't miss any sources and that your information is correct. If you ever need help citing your sources or making sure that you're properly avoiding plagiarism, feel free to schedule an appointment with one of our writing tutors to go over more information.